Hello, welcome to IFOS GK Reflections and Test Series program, which is where we are aiming for the 150 plus score in the GK program in most convenient and in most effortless way. So it is a PYQ driven approach, and in this first session, we will look into the history as a theme, uh, whereby we will be discussing some PYQ reflections, and then what are possible topics based on the PYQ analysis which is being conducted. And as the history comes in question number one, whereby two questions are whereby two questions can be from ancient and two questions can be from modern, or in recent times there was 1 plus 3 where 1 was from modern and 3 were from ancient and medieval. So we need to pay special attention to ancient and medieval, particularly here, considering the trend that which are being followed. The most important part about this area is it is a very low hanging fruit, as the questions in question number 1 are very predictive and themes are often repeated, so it makes it a very high scoring area of the 50 marks that we have. So if you want to score, let's say, 150 plus, then you need to get at least 35 plus marks in this question to ensure that you are compensating for the randomness of let's say science and science and technology, and the environment section which is there. The most important aspect to focus here is this topic particularly is very detail oriented. The questions are not very difficult, or they do not demand the depth or the width which is being asked in the history section of the CSE, but the factual details sometimes are necessary, which may be missed out due to lack of revision. So our focus will be on ensuring note making on these factual details, and ensure that we are actually covering certain topics and details which will help you, which will help us in writing an excellent and in-depth answer. If we consider the PYQ analysis, there are certain themes which are being asked in the paper. So first and foremost thing is themes about is questions about personalities. So let's say in 2024 there was question on Samudragupta. In 2023 there was question on Harsha. Then in there was question on Ashoka. In the past there was question in modern, there was question on Tilak, there was question on Phule, there was question on Periyar in the earlier days of 2019 and 2017. So there is a very probable chance that questions are being asked from this thing. And in addition to preparing these kind of personalities, there is a great possibility that the possible reflections from the personalities which can be asked is Krishna Dev Raya, the Chandragupta Maurya, the Akbar in the ancient and medieval times. While we are preparing notes on these personalities, or let's say these personalities, we need to consider what are their contribution in terms of, let's say, state development and administration. Let's say there is a question on Krishna Dev Raya, then you can talk about Amara Nayaka system, which may get forgotten if we have not prepared or if we have not taken a deep thought about it. Similarly, we can talk about what kind of books he has written, what is his cultural contribution in terms of architecture, in terms of painting, what kind of scholars did he patronize, what kind of cities did he build. Similar was the is the case with Chandragupta Maurya. So our focus must be preparing a 6 to 8 liner notes for each of the personality, not more than this. I guess most of the people who come to IFOS means have some form or the other kind of civil services background, so they know how to write answers or how to get how to generate points there and there itself. But what lacks is, again, I'm emphasizing on such minute details about what three books did he write, or what kind of city did he build, what kind of scholars did he patronize. Let's say you may forget Amara Nayaka. So to ensure that our coverage is sufficient, we need to prepare only such short notes on only such things. Similar is the case with Akbar. If we know Akbar is a very great personality and there is tremendous content that can be written, but we should not end up writing, let's say, only Fatehpur Sikri. We need to say that what kind of painters did he patronize. So these kind of details which may one miss out on. So our focus is on actually preparing these 6, 8, 10 lines of notes which contains only factual details to cover up the entire topic. In addition to these personalities, in modern India there is a possibility of question around Bhagat Singh as a of course it is a great personality, and rather than asking question on revolutionaries, which also is a possible question, they can ask Bhagat Singh in terms of personality. Secondly, as they did ask Dadabhai Nairoji in the past, maybe there may be a question on Raja Rammohun Roy also. Here itself you can prepare what sort of books did he write, what sort of organizations did he work into, what sort of educational institution he seek to establish with David Harry and Jonathan Duncan, or again his role in sati abolition, all of these details. So our focus must be on detail orientation so that we do not miss out on very obvious points. In addition to personalities of the obvious personalities, I think there is a great possibility of two additional things, of them diverging into different forays, considering the fact that a GK paper toughness has increased a notch from 2020 to 2023 to the 2024. So there is a chance that there may be a certain kind of depth which may be inculcated it. So I tried to include the bhakti personality and the artistic personalities here as well. So if we can prepare on these, there is a good chance of having increased coverage and also greater predictability of questions which may be difficult to write on the first instance. The personality like Bhakti and Guru Nanak are very obvious, and they are easy to prepare as well, including in the artist segment. Artists like Amir Khusro is very probable even for the civil services and even for the forest services. And in addition, Tansen can be another uh, personality, another artist on which a 10 marker can be possibly asked. So here itself, if we know some of the books and some of the instruments which Amir Khusro actually helped develop, then his contribution in the development of the Urdu in India or the Hindi language, which these kind of aspects can make an answer complete and fulfilling. The next thematic section would be, they do ask up the one question which is mainstay in the GK paper is Jainism and Buddhism, and the subsidiary topic of it is Ashokan Dhamma. So we need, this is every year or the alternate year there is a question on Jainism and Buddhism, and there is a greater chance that now they have, as they have asked the simple aspects of it, like why it has emerged, uh, what are its main teachings, or what are the similarities and differences between Jainism and Buddhism, and why it led to decline. These are very obvious things and one should know these, and they must be prepared with you. But what I see in terms of reflection is, rather than asking very simple these things, as these things have already been asked, they can adventure into a new things, new areas whereby their contribution to the different aspects of society and culture of India can be asked. So first of it, Jainism and Buddhism as a social movement rather than as a religious movement can be asked. So prepare on what are the moral messages, how it led to democratization of the society, addressing the role of women. These aspects are very necessary to be addressed, must be prepared, and again they are very crucial not only for the IFOs but also for the civil services as well. In addition, a pinpointed and difficult question from this area can be about the either the cultural aspect to, as a one question, as a overarching question, or a minute details about, let's say, what is Buddhist literature, what is Buddhist architecture, and paintings and other art. So I guess a two-pager note on the first part, which is very basic part, and the details about literature, few names of books, few architectural things like Nigal. There are stupas, there are caves, then there are chaityas, and then also there is a Gandhara and Mathura school. Such kind of details can help you in writing a very comprehensive answer on Jainism and Buddhism, and these must be prepared, thought out, brainstormed beforehand to ensure that there is sufficient coverage for it. Another very possible question from this area is contemporary relevance of their teachings. So here their role in world peace, here their role in excessive materialism, here their role in addressing the concerns around women, and then talking about the global geopolitical context and the rising extremism and terrorism. All of these aspects can be woven into an answer to ensure that how teachings of Jainism and Buddhism are very much guiding path, and let's say the our honorable PM Modi's quote, which says that India gave world the Buddha, not the Yuddha. So these kind of things will enrich answer and can also be a motivation for examiner to actually make a question on the same topic. The question, another question which is a PYQ and which is very probable even in the upcoming year is what is Ashokan Dhamma and how it is a socio moral movement rather than religious movement. So what it meant, what kind of philosophies it had, can be a very good discussion for the examiner to build question upon, and for us to write as well. So a half pager note on Ashokan Dhamma and 2 pager note on this would ensure that you have excellent coverage and you are addressing at least a 15 marker or a 10 marker question surely from it. And even if examiner ventures into certain kind of adventurism, you are prepared on the difficult topics of literature and architecture as well, and also the applied aspects of the contemporary relevance. Next is the question on the contribution of age. So what they do is they generally ask on the contribution of age. In the past, they have asked on the Mauryan age and on the Chola age. There is a very probable area that they may ask, rather than asking on Krishnadev Raya as a personality, they may ask on Vijayanagar as a age. Similarly, as there was question on Pallava in the CSC 2023. Pallava is again very crucial area in terms of their architectural importance and also their role in development of languages in the southern area. In addition to this, the post-Mauryan age, particularly the Kushans, as an extension of question to the Jainism and Buddhism and the architectural aspects of it, can very well be asked. Here itself, they have asked about Indo-Greeks and Romans. So, in these context as well, the post-Mauryan age becomes a probable area where from which questions can be asked. The Sultanate is a untouched area till now, and I think it is a very huge area where to prepare in a very short time, and the cost effect ratio is very less. In that context, I think a a cursory look is necessary, not in very detail, but Mughal as a age is very central, even though it is comparatively larger to prepare in terms of aspects and dimension that they have, and we are already preparing Akbar as a personality earlier. So Mughal age in terms of its cultural and administrative importance can be written from some part of its content can be written from the Akbar's question, but some details here and there can be added in, let's say, 6 to 8 lines in a very short manner to write any adventurism which is being done by the examiner. Another very probable question and area is from the Sangam age. So here, in addition to the Sangam literature, we need to focus on Sangam society, Sangam polity, and Sangam economy. And uh, a short a short note on 2 3 points on what kind of social organization there was, what kind of polity there was, and how the economy was present there in terms of commodities which are being traded, in terms of the different kinds of profession which are being practiced, and what sort of trade linkages they had with the rest of the world, can make a good discussion. And cultural aspects too can be added in addition to the literature, in terms of what sort of recreation, what sort of music, what sort of art, theater was present in there. And also the very important part of it is the moral and the ethical aspects which were present from the Sangam literature. Don't miss out on those part which were reflected in, let's say, Thirukural or the Sittalai Satnar's writings or the Ettutogai writings. So if I'm sorry, so if the values and the moral aspects are highlighted, it adds a nice value addition to our basic answer on the Sangam literature as as well. So while preparing the contribution of age, our focus must be on what kind of political and administrative organization was present there. Let's say if there is a Mauryan era, or let's say if there is a Vijayanagar era, then we can talk about how there was centralized administration, specialized departments, how there was Mantri Parishad. Similarly, in terms of Chola, we can talk about decentralized village level administration, that sort of unique details. And as the scope is limited to write only 2 3 points here and there would make an answer complete, and also not very digressful from our central demand of the question. Similarly, then we can add about the personalities which were relevant to the age. Let's say in Maurya, in addition to Chandragupta Maurya and Ashoka, we can talk about the Saptanga theory of Kautilya and the Megasthenesis Indica, and then the obvious aspects of architecture, literature, painting, music, and theater. So these can be clubbed under a cultural contribution to ensure that any question related to such age can be addressed, rather than asking the this first and second thing. The focus can be on cultural contributions, but the main difference from civil services questions and GK questions here is the questions are not limited to culture here itself. Sometimes they do ask about political and administrative machineries as well. As there was a question on Mansabdari system on the Mughal in the past. So we should not miss out on the obvious details while preparing, since we are actually preparing for it. And to make answer a very comprehensive and fulfilling, maybe we can talk about what was the reason for for the decline, and what was actually next which happened. Let's say if there was a question on Vijayanagar period, then we can talk about how there was Rakshasa Tangadi battle, battle of Talai Kota, and the decline of Vijayanagar, and then the how British rediscovery of Hampi was a major enlightenment period, for the glory of the Indian history. So these kind of conclusions would help in gaining that, fetching that extra half and mark or a extra 1 mark, by making our answer more comprehensive and more detail oriented. The next theme is, they do ask about processes and the movements. So what I meant by movement is, movement is something which has some ideological basis, which has some personalities, and there are some objectives and some outcomes. So for every, so I have included the very possible and very reflective of topics in this category, and the bhakti movement is a very probable of them. Bhakti, like I said, the four aspects of any movement can be prepared, and to give exemplify it, why it occurred, what were the personalities associated with it, and what was the socio-cultural impact. This is very important, and this itself can be a question. The main obvious thing while writing such kind of questions is, we may end up writing only 2 3 valid points, and then thereafter go on to writing very general points, as it is as there are 24 questions are to be written, so time is very less. So in that case, we obviously think that bhakti, most of us have written or prepared bhakti movement in the earlier times, so we end up writing a subpar answer also to that question, which is very obvious and which must be written to the highest of caliber. To not miss out on such obvious questions, we need to prepare some details, which was our entire focus for the preparation of question number 1. And to do that, we need to consider the holistic contribution which was there, and what, by who, by which personalities, by which books, and a certain teachings here and there of them can increase the weightage of our answer and bring in a certain kind of depth. Similar to this is socio-religious reform movement. Again, why it happened, impact of colonial rule on India, and the sense of enlightenment which was brought down by various personalities which were present there. And then what was the socio-cultural impact, both in terms of positives and negatives, it can be considered. Similarly, the extension of this question in terms of process aspect is, the India at the onset of colonialism. The two questions which are being asked from is decline of Mughal from the uh, in the colonial era, and rise of Marathas was asked in 2024. So I think this period of onset of colonialism in India, why it happened, what instruments and what factors it promoted this, not only in terms of the colonial supremacy, but also in terms of the domestic factors, let's say factionalism, the decline of Mughals, the decadent state of civilizational growth which was there, as being uh, elaborated upon by the enlightenment thinkers of India, can actually be used and discussed here. So this type of content, this content, I feel, can be used in multiple of the questions, as it is a process, and this process can be uh, used to talk about the decline of Mughal India at the onset of colonialism, why socio-religious reforms actually took place in India. All of this can be based on the content of position of India, status of India at the onset of colonialism. So I hope such kind of multi uh, multi-useful content can be an asset to our arsenal or our armory to write answers in more detailed and more demand oriented manner. In addition to this, there are events which are being asked. Events include the 1857 revolt. Again, why it happened, what personalities were associated with it, and then what was the socio-economic political impact. This is a very probable question about the 1857. And again, they may ask you whether it is justifiable to say it as a first war of independence or not. To address it, you must be prepared with what were its limitations and where it was lacking, why it actually failed. So if you know these four aspects, then you are good to go to write any question on 1857, which is very probable. Another question which I predict and which I think is a very probable is run up to cabinet mission plan or the events of 1947. This is a very, they have previously asked in CSC as well as in IFOS about what was the decade of 1940s in terms of the nationalism aspects, and considering the multiplicity of events which can be confusing and the details which are there, a small timeline whereby we know what kind of events, where was Cripps mission, where was August offer, where was the Quit India movement, where was the cabinet mission plan, where was the independence. So this kind of timeline would add our answer, would add to our answer a good presentation and certain depth, and would also fetch an extra mark from the examiner for the clarity of thought and for clarity of understanding we have about the decade. Similarly, there was a question on ideologies that emerged in 1920s and 1930s, which was run up to the CDM movement. This CDM movement and the Lahore session demand of Purna Swaraj can be a probable question. So question may be something along the line that demand for Purna Swaraj at Lahore session was a culmination of multiplicity of ideologies which thrived in the decade of 1920s in India. So here you need to how, let's say, the forces of labor, the forces of uh, youth, the forces of Gandhian ideology, and the departure from the passive resistance and the to the and constitutional means to the active non-violent strategy which was being adopted since the Nagpur session of 1920 can be incorporated. Then there are certain miscellaneous topics which are only three questions and which are very probable. Let's say if examiner wants to increase his width and include some random topic in it, we are trying to ensure that the variables which can be present in the examiner are actually considered as a constant. And to do that, we are preparing some random topics in addition to our reflective topics as well. So for that, the Indus Valley civilization is a previous year question, and it is a very probable and very obvious topic to prepare, and you should be prepared with a short note on about what sites were there, what were its features, and maybe you can include a map as well about the sites to have a value addition. But the real question I feel which can be asked and which is very pr- probable is what can present day India or present day urbanization scenarios or present day society learn from the Indus Valley civilization. This is a very probable question and can be asked directly in the examiner. For that purpose you must be knowing the answer. But let's say if you are preparing this at home and have 30 minutes to think and brainstorm on it and jot down few 5 6 points, then that will help you in actually generating more quality points in the examination. Similarly, the second area, second theme from which content can be used in across the answers, let's say contents from this can be used in the age question, contents this can be used in personality question, is India's relationship with the overseas areas. So in that, what is trade, what were the ports and what were the commodities which were being traded, in terms of the timeline of the trade and the map with which the commodities and the uh, regions traded were shown, can be a good thing to depict in the examination, and it can be only done if you are doing it by preparation while staying at home and brainstorming and thinking about it. Next is the cultural spread of the India with the overseas, which started maybe with Buddhism, and then how Cholas, how Arabs, and then how even the Mauryan times led to propagation of Indian culture, can be a good question. So here, uh, what our understanding is, if we focus too much, if we end up writing something on the spot, we may miss out on very obvious details. So to not do it, we are actually deliberating, we are actually brainstorming and preparing these topics beforehand to ensure that our coverage is there, and we are exam ready for it. And then the next very probable and very obvious area for is the revolutionaries and their ideology. Rather than asking about personalities, they can ask about revolutionaries in terms of 1907 to 1917 as a first phase, and then 1922 to post as a phase. So if we are doing these two areas thoroughly with names of which were in Bengal, which were in Maharashtra, and which were in Punjab, and here itself, let's say we are doing HRA, HSRA, and then Dhaka Anushilan. So such kind of details will help us in generating points, getting some insights, and writing a answer which is of details, which is of quality, and which is of value, giving something to the examiner. So here I have added some kind of PYQ analysis, where let's say there was an obvious question on Samudragupta as a personality, there was question on Harshavardhan as a personality, there was question on Tilak as a personality, there was question on Sher Shah Suri, Ashoka, Dadabhai. So questions about personalities are asked every year. In addition to this, if you look, every year there is a question on Buddha and Mahavira, or the teachings of Dhamma. So I tried to include as many themes, as many probable areas, and also try to ensure that there is a high cost to benefit ratio in terms of the GK preparation that we actually plan to do here itself. Now our focus must be on preparing a short and very detailed oriented notes on the topics which I have discussed, and brainstorm a few questions of it, and that's it. You need not do anything. So the entire history is covered actually in not more than 20 topics, and these 20 topics would help you in fetching 50, 35 30 to 35 marks out of 50. So even in one question which is very probable and very predictive, if we are fetching 30 to 35 marks, then it will make our road easier for scoring to 150 plus, which is our target. So I hope our strategy is clear, and all the best, and see you in the next lecture.